Hey everybody, before Clixed Off Sudden Death starts today, just want to let everybody know that we are brought to you by trollandtoad.com. Check out trollandtoad.com for all your HeroClix singles needs. We're also running a $50 web credit contest with Troll and Toad. Check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/clixedoff for all the details.
Booga 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 booga.
Clixed Off is brought to you by Lucky Dice Cafe out of Huntsville, Alabama. Check them out at luckydicecafe.com.
Welcome to Clixed Sudden Death.
Welcome everyone to this another edition of Clixed Off Sudden Death, a HeroClix podcast where we talk news, tournament reports, and more vital information to improve your HeroClix game. I'm your host, Alex Cooze, and today I am joined by the nicest guy in HeroClix, Tylor Spees. How are you doing today?
It's a bold claim. I don't know if I can attest to that.
Yeah, I will say you are one of the nicest guys in HeroClix until I have to sit across from you and you're playing Wales.
That's fair. That's how everybody feels.
And then you're still nice, but you're one of those, you're a nice guy, huh?
You'd be nice while you'd be
yeah,
nice
and then you
guy.
move Minnie over and take out half my team or something. So we've got a jam-packed show today. Before we get going, though, I just want to let you know, don't forget that Clixed Off is sponsored by The Rock and Lucky Dice Games. We are also sponsored by Troll and Toad. Shop trollandtoad.com for all of your HeroClix needs. Trollandtoad.com has one of the largest inventories of HeroClix figures and sealed items on the web. Check out their large inventory of DC Rebirth figures and make sure you bookmark their site for the upcoming Black Panther and Illuminati set. Let's go ahead and get this show rolling with Click number 1.
Click 1. News and upcoming events.
All right, so it definitely felt like it was Christmas time here in the HeroClix world this week because we were given sneak peeks after sneak peeks after sneak peeks of the upcoming Black Panther set and all of the 2019 Con-LEs. We also got new tournament rules, a new comprehensive rule book. I mean, holy cow, it's been wild. Anyway, we'll talk more about the rules changes in Click number 2 because we actually haven't had a lot of tournaments going on. So we'll talk about rules changes in Click number 2, but first, let's talk about those juicy dials that we saw. So we're going to start with the ones that 2 clicks from KO, previewed back on April 24th. They showed a rare Enigma, who she's got kind of a lot going on. It's a she, right? Mm-hmm. Is it a she?
Yeah, I mean, it's a robot, isn't it?
It's a robot. It's an it, I guess. She
probably identifies as a she.
No, the name is we have Akiku
Okay, maybe it is she.
Oh, and they say she in the article, so we'll roll.
Okay.
We have a Taskmaster, we have Chase Captain America, and then we have the Infinity Gauntlet. Tyler, what are you liking out of these?
Probably my favorite out of these is the Taskmaster, just because Taskmaster's always been one of my favorite characters, but this guy can pick so much, like it's crazy. Like,
why don't you let everyone who can't see it? What
sure.
What does he do?
So he doesn't count against teams, which is great and very thematic for the character because he's a mercenary. He'll go with whatever. He even helps good guys sometimes. He's wild card, which also fits into that. Fits really nicely. And then he has his trait is free. Choose 2: charge, flurry, running shot, blades, incapacitate, psychic blast, precision strike, combat reflexes, energy shield deflection, close combat expert, exploit weakness, or range combat expert. So you get to pick 2 powers.
Jeez.
Yeah, so like half the book. And then Taskmaster can use the chosen power until your next turn, which that's good enough on its own. But then he also has this turn characters targeted, so not hit, just targeted by Taskmaster with an attack, can't use the chosen power until your next turn. So not only can he pick the book, but he can also turn it off from other characters, which is really good.
Yeah, you could just play him and pick charge, flurry, sidestep him up, and shoot a vulture.
Yep.
Because he's got a 6 range. So I mean that's nothing to scoff at. So
Yeah, and sidestep.
shoot a vulture and be like, haha, you can't charge and flurry me. Enjoy not doing
Sitting
that.
there.
Yep.
Yeah. Off turns, he can pick energy shield deflection, close combat or combat reflexes, and just have a 20 defense. He's an unthemed. Well, he doesn't break theme, and he has leadership, which is very helpful. Yeah, he's a little bit lacking on the defense, but like I said, you can pick one of those defensive powers if you need to. So I really like him.
I do too. I like that he's not like the suited henchman, or I think it's a suited henchman. The ones that don't break theme but don't count, like they don't count for theme. Also,
yeah. No, I think those ones actually count. It's the Presbyter card doesn't count.
That's who it is. He doesn't break theme, but he does count for theme because he's got some decent keywords.
Yeah, he does.
Agency X, Cabal, Hydra, Initiative, Assassin, and Martial Artist. Which martial artist is becoming a sneaky.
It is.
Keyword.
It is. Yeah, I agree with that.
Very sneaky keyword.
Yeah, the only issue I have with this one is he doesn't have Thunderbolts, which is a little sad. He can still go on a Thunderbolts team because they're straight, but it's just a little sad. But that's my only issue.
Yeah. And, you know, Wildcard's got a little bit of a bump in the rules change, which we could talk about later.
Yep.
Because their whole thing is they can copy a keyword, or not keyword, sorry. They can copy a team ability, but I believe they get to keep it even if that person is gone. So if they're the last person on the field, they copied that team ability, I think they just keep it. Like, they don't lose it like they used to. Yeah. If I'm reading correctly, I might be wrong, but
We'll
I'm
get
pretty
there.
sure. Yeah. The Chase Captain America is pretty cool. He's kind of pricey for 135. He can be outwitted. I mean, the coolest thing is that his attack power, which he has the whole dial.
Yes.
This is what everyone's been talking about. He has knockback. When Captain America knocks a character back, add 10 to the amount of knockback. So, just to knock someone across the field.
All kinds of fun shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's not even. I don't even know how exploitable it is. It's just fun, and it's good, but it's just fun. That's awesome.
The Infinity Gauntlet, we've all been kind of talking about it. It's kind of ho-hum. It's 30 points, indestructible, free action. Choose a standard power, then roll a d6. If you roll a 5 or a 6, you may choose an additional standard power. If you roll a 1 or a 2, you deal this character 1 unavoidable damage. This character can use the chosen powers until your next turn. So it's one of those that I feel like 30 points is so much. It's can't destroy it, but someone could steal it.
It's light. Yeah, that's a big issue.
Yeah, so there's probably a figure out there that could use it to its maximum potential. It's just hard to figure out who that is because that 1 unavoidable damage is risky.
Yeah.
Who were you talking about the other day that you were thinking about putting it on?
I like a couple people. I like Title Deadpool with it, and I think that he can come back in a big way. People have just sort of forgot about him, but I mean, with Hawkeye and Vulture out there, I mean, that guy's there. He's been missing a reducer. This can help there. You know, it gives him a lot of survivability.
Sure. And he can heal with his title power, so
right. Yeah, so he can sort of avoid the unavoidable. Yeah, I think he's decent with it. It still might be too many points. You know, you have to test with it, but it has to be somebody with a long dial or somebody who doesn't care about damage. Is basically.
Yeah, and the worst part of that about that title Deadpool, but now that you got me thinking about it, is that he does have those crappy keywords because.
Yep.
But he does have initiative, and Taskmaster has initiative. So there's 170 points. Add 30 for the glove. That's 200 points right there. So you could do WizKid and yeah.
Eternity.
So there you go.
That's 300 points.
Silver Sable. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's it.
Presbyter card.
Play the other Taskmaster. 2 Taskmasters.
There you go.
And just give that Taskmaster exospecs.
Yeah, that's a team.
I'm gonna make this happen and realize it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So that's about it for the 2 clicks from KO ones. Enigma, she's pretty cool. She's a rare. She's not amazing. She's a cool support figure. definitely check her out. I'm not going to go into too much detail about her. I think she's neat, but she's not.
Yeah, she's basically like a annoying, hard to kill taxi.
Yeah, I know she could like run through people and make them immobile or something.
Yeah. It's just there's probably something there.
All right. So additionally, after that, we also saw some previews from some group called Clixed Off.
Clixed Off.
Yeah, Clixed. Oof. Maybe they're German. Oofed. I don't know.
Ooh.
Sounds like a dumb name. Anyway, I'm just kidding. We saw some. I actually like every single one of these figures. We'll start. We'll go ahead and talk about them. Let's start with the Common Prime Black Widow. Why is she significant for someone, not for your team particularly, but someone like you, Tyler? Why is she significant?
I think it's interesting. So I want to read it. So she's traded Shape Change and Stealth, which is always just amazing. She ignores characters for movement, so that right there is really good. Those are things you want. Her keywords: aim, assassin, martial arters, spy. Like we said, martial arts is pretty good. Spy has some help. Aim's a little out there, but so then she has 2-point dials, 60 and 30. Her 60 one's okay. I mean, it's if you pull her in sealed, you're gonna play her, but I don't think she gets much play in the meta. She's a fun casual piece. Her 30-point dial is what gets her there, though, because she still has her special defense power, which is combat reflexes, which is great because she has traded support, or stealth. And then it is free, choose an adjacent character and the standard defense power. Until your next turn, the chosen character can't use defense powers. Or that defense power. Yikes. So it's basically like a targeted Peggy Carter, if you remember that, because they were both common primes. There's a lot of similarities between these two pieces. So she has sidestep. So after being carried, so I mean she's good with a lot of things, but she's great with shredders. So you throw this on a shredder team, you carry her up. She has sidestep to carry the mini. She has ignore characters, so she can carry mini through anybody that's trying to block for him, which is really great. Then because it's a free action, she shuts off Invincible, which is the Shredder's worst nightmare, and then sidesteps in with the for the pen damage to get. I mean, it gets Uni off of Invincible. It helps against Black Adam, which gaining some popularity because he has contestants you can't win him. Yep. I think this just goes on Shredder teams. It's really good.
And the biggest difference she has from Peggy was a little harder to fit in because she was 60 points.
Right. 65, I think.
60.
Okay.
60.
Okay.
Well, Black Widow's only 30. 30 points.
30 points.
That's what you want your typical support pieces to be.
Right.
Is 30 points. And she has combat reflexes, shape change, stealth. I mean, she's got everything you want for just 30 points. Packs so much punch.
She's a wild card too.
Yeah. So you can well, actually I don't know what you'd give her, but
I don't know, on the Shredder team.
I know, yeah, for real. Well, I'm sitting there trying to think of like all the cool team abilities, but all of them are uncopyable. So
yeah,
I was gonna say give her Mystics, but yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. So
nope.
So either way, I think she's awesome for 30 points. It's gonna be one of those primes where I'll be happy to pull her the first time, and then I'll keep pulling her like I did with what's her face in X-Men.
Oh yeah,
Moira.
Yeah, Moira.
I'd pick Moira like a bajillion times, and I got real tired of that common prime. Yep. Tyler, why don't you talk about this super rare that we got?
Yes.
That is bananas.
Yeah. So the collector. One thing is, I didn't know there was that many people in this set. But he's 64, is that right? And he's a super rare?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was that many figures in this set. That's crazy. Okay, so he is 55 points, but he's not. He is 60 points because he has a plus 5-point trait. Bearer of Reality Gem. Collector starts the game with the Reality Gem equipped. We assume that that's going to come with him, so he's a 60-point character. So he is 5 clicks, but he's not because... here's another trait. At the beginning of the game, if an opponent force includes an additional game element, heal collector 1 click past the starting line to click 0, which I believe is the first time that's ever happened. I don't think we've ever seen a Click 0 before. I could be wrong. So current additional game elements are ID cards, equipment, special terrain, and locations. So you will never play a game in the meta or any competitive tournament at all where this doesn't activate. So he's 6 clicks long, basically, which is good. For 60 points, that's fine. He has good reducers. So the big trait, the other ones are fine, but the big trait is Collector can be equipped with any number of equipment objects at the same time, protected pulsar. That just shouts shenanigans. That is crazy.
Jeez.
So you would think that maybe, you don't have the tempo to do that. It takes actions and all that. He has he starts with an attack power, incapacitate. Whenever he has 7 range, 1 bolt. Whenever Collector uses it, instead of giving action tokens after resolutions, you may choose one equipped object equipped to a hit target character and unequip it. And then he has additional to that power, free, equip an unheld and unequipped opposing equipment object within range and line of fire. So that's free within range and line of fire. So 7. I mean, that's crazy.
That is. He's just going to be picking up. He's going to be collecting all the objects.
Yes, it's very fitting for the character. It's very comic accurate.
Now, I wonder why they did that whole Click 0 thing.
I don't know. I thought that too. Like, why it couldn't just be Click 12?
Like, I wonder if it's because saw some people talk about, and this is Golden Age related, but talking about, well, you can equip him with any number of equipment objects, to just throw a bunch of entities on him, even though those are equipment characters, so that wouldn't even fit anyway. So never mind.
Okay, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but if you did an entity and popped them on, they'd die instantly because
he'd get healed.
They don't have it. They don't have a 0 click, so they'd be gone. I love the Collector. He's got Cosmic, Elders of the Universe, which I know Nate White is excited about. Elders of the Universe, because he plays Grandmaster, so he's already playing in Collector and Grandmaster, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think he's great. I'm eager to see what the Reality Gem does, because that was not previewed. We weren't fortunate enough to get that. But he just does so much. Like, just for 55 points, 6 clicks. Well, generally 6 clicks. If you're playing someone that doesn't have ID cards, equipment, special terrain, or locations, you're probably gonna win anyway. No offense.
Yeah.
But
yeah, somewhat reliably, he can be equipped with 3 objects turn 1. So you have your gem already. You move out because he's cosmic, so you use a floor colossal or something to move something out. I guess floor doesn't have size, but something to go out and get it, and then sidestep back to equip him turn 1, and then carry him up within 7 of the enemy's object. Free equip it. You have 3 equipment. So he could have the Reality Gem, Exospecs, and if you're playing like a Vulture, he could have the Doc Ock arms. And that's like, not only does it obviously steal Ock arms from Vulture, which is insane, but this guy becomes a very potent attacker at that point.
yeah, because they didn't nerf him. They didn't make him like an unseen, where it's like, haha, you have 0 attack, 0 damage. Like, he's actually 11 attack, 3 damage. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, if you put Flurry on top of that, you pick I guess you can't pick Charge with you.
7 range. I mean, he's got a long range too. I mean, he has to use his ability, but
it's really good. He's gonna see play 100%.
Let's talk about the last one we saw from Clixed. That's the Chase. Kobik? I don't know how you pronounce it.
No clue.
I've never seen Kobik before. I'll talk about this a little bit. Kobik starts the game with any 1 Cosmic Cube equipped for 15 additional points. She's 100 points. That has got people talking, because like with the Captain America, which we didn't mention, he says he starts the game with any 1 Infinity Gauntlet equipped. So the way they worded that, and they have the set symbol next to it, so that leads people to think there might be multiple Cosmic Cubes, might be multiple Infinity Gauntlets. I don't know why, but because they said it, the game Kobik starts the game with any 1. Like, they didn't, they didn't specifically say set 008, S008. They said any. that leads people to believe that there could be more.
Yeah,
There are, I believe, 11 objects. I think 15.
I thought it was 12.
12?
It's some
Okay.
high. It's double digits probably.
Some of her other abilities: free, choose both a friendly character and an opposing character with printed team abilities. These characters can use the team abilities printed on the other character instead of their own printed team abilities until your next turn. And that's not within range or anything. It's just period.
Nope.
Choose a
Yep.
friendly, choose an opposing, switch team abilities. That's awesome.
That's very strong.
This next one is what makes Kobik a little bit, or Kobik, I don't know what to name her, makes her really unusual. Kind of what I think in like Ultra Chase Captain Marvel. He's got a really unique ability, and it just takes someone figuring out how to do it right to make it crazy. Power action. Once per game, choose an adjacent friendly character on their starting line and a character on your sideline with the same name as the chosen character. If the first character is equal or more points than the second, replace the first character with the second on their starting line. That character can't have the same set symbol and collector number. So it's basically like a shifting focus-esque, or what was the what if one?
Yeah.
Alternative universe or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
alternate reality, or that's not Superman, something like that.
Yeah. That's one that's really gonna probably take someone smarter than me to figure out.
Yep.
I know. Yeah, I know we've been talking about, there's a lot of Captain Marvels, so you can try to do something with shifting focus Captain Marvel, switch her into the Ultra Chase Captain Marvel. I was thinking today of any Colossals that you can have a small one and turn into a Colossal is always fun, so you can play a Hulk and turn him into
The
Big Hulk. Yeah. Carnage. You could do that with Carnage as well. Normal Carnage turn into a big Carnage. I think we have a Carnage figure, don't we? Like
We have one. I'm not sure if he's 100 points or not.
I know we have one in
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He'd have to be 100 points. I'm not sure if he is.
He is 100 points.
So there you go. That's probably, not good, but it's something.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's there.
Yeah, you could theoretically do that.
Yep.
I was just thinking about turning someone into a Colossal because that always sounds fun to me.
Yeah.
Someone, like I said, someone smarter than us is going to make this happen.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the Cosmic Cube real quick. I think it is much better than the Infinity Gauntlet. I do not think it's... I don't know if it's that playable, though.
Yeah.
Free action. It's indestructible, 30 points again.
Light object.
Light object. Free. Choose one. Place this character up to 3 squares away from its current square. So this is going to look like that Vince McMahon meme where he's like excited for the first picture. So I'm like, okay, place this character up to 3 squares away. That's always nice to be just a free placement.
Yeah.
Or until your next turn, improve targeting, elevated, hindering, and modify range +2. All right. I can deal that. Or give an action token to an adjacent opposing character if you can't deal them 1 penetrating damage. All right. Yeah, I can take all 3 of those. Those aren't bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 30 points.
Yeah. If it was choose 2, it'd be 30 points. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I don't even know that.
I don't know. I think it's just really, and I think all of these chases that we've seen so far, chase objects, are really just going to depend on how much longer this crazy high theme team is going to happen, and how many teams are going to build having someone who can get out there and steal the object.
Right. TK or sidestep pickup or something.
Because right now, what are the methods for getting all the way out there to pick up this object?
Any taxi at all and a sidestep character.
So taxi. Well, here's the thing. So you wouldn't do it on something like, I don't know if you would necessarily do it on something like PJ's team, the soldier theme team, because that takes a setup turn. You could push things.
I see what you're saying. I know what you mean.
Do you risk jumping all the way out there to grab this for you to be shot the first
I
turn?
think if it was better, you probably would, but I just don't think you care about them picking it up, honestly.
Yeah, so I think I agree. I think it's if there's an ID character like Jean who maybe can get out there to TK, maybe.
Yeah.
But unless you solely have a build where you get all right, first one, the one instantly that I see that I'm going to try to build around is Shade the Changing Girl.
Yeah.
She instantly pops over to the object. She could just sidestep back, pick it up.
She has sidestep?
I believe she does. I would have to double check that. I thought she had traded phasing. She has phasing. Oh, yeah, you're right. But she has, it's a power action to place her in any square with an unheld object. So yeah, she wouldn't be able to unless you had some way of moving her. So yeah, that's fair. So she couldn't just pop over and take it.
She could prevent them from like TKing on top of it, but that's about it.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I mean, it's really, we're gonna have to see where the meta goes with this set dropping, because this set drops just in time for Nationals. And will be legal for Nationals. Granted that there's no delays, but from what I've heard, WizKids is adamant there will be no delays with this because they really want this set to be legal for Nationals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I could see. I mean, Vulture, I don't think has a way of stealing objects. Does Wales have a way of just running all the way out there? I guess you could with Mini.
Yeah, I can pick up light objects with Mini if on the right map. I can, and if they place the object wrong.
Yeah. So if you're playing it, you have. Yeah, if you're playing it, you're gonna have to be very specific. I don't think Unimind has a reliable method on getting all the way out there. You would have to be able to bring somebody in or have someone who's expendable all the way out there.
So I mean, they can. It's just not worth it.
Exactly.
Right? They can carry up with Uni and pick the sidestep and lockjaw like that. They definitely have the capabilities. It's just whether it's worth the trade off.
Exactly, because you don't want to just sit in the middle of the field. You're going to be 5 steps away,
right?
Except against you, because you have an extended starting area. But you're going to be 5 clicks away, and you're just going to be sitting there. And so they're just going to take a pot shot. I'm almost thinking now I want to put it on a team just to bait people.
Yeah, that's possible.
Right, come over here and steal this 30 point. You're going to be sitting right in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to shoot you and take it back. So
yeah, I think my big issue with these was that they would change the meta, because for 30 points they would have to be too good, where you have to adjust for them and play them. It would make the meta change, but they're just not good enough, at least so far, to make me want to care about them. Right? You could spend 30 points and equip this, and I'm fine with that. It's not worth me risking anything to stop you.
Yeah, I think it's really going to depend on who can use the Cosmic Cube to its potential. Like, who can use that 3-move placement, or that improved targeting, elevated and hindering, and the +2 range, or who can use that whole, hey, I choose adjacent person, you get an action token. Like, who can really use all of those things effectively?
So the first one and the last one are pretty, just, I don't think there's anything specific there. They're just good on any character.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd probably be something with the second one, but I'm not sure what could use that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Someone, I got no clue.
All right, let's go on to the last bit of major click. Well, no, we got one more after this, but let's talk about those con LEs that we saw. So WizKids dropped the news about updated tournament rules and comprehensive stuff, which we'll talk about later. And I guess just to say, hey, we're sorry for changing a bunch of stuff. They also said, hey, here's all the con LEs for the rest of the year. And they were just hidden at the bottom. They mentioned.
I didn't expect them. Yeah,
they talked about it, but they just kind of, hey, surprise, guys! Here's some. Here's all these con LEs. So Tyler, tell me a couple that you're interested in. We don't need to go through all of them. All of them are on the WizKids page. One thing before we go into each one. They did not specify, and people have been asking when these are WKO and when these are con LEs and when we will even see them. We know Ambrose Chase is the summer WKO prize, which will be in July, I believe. But the rest of them, which is quite a few, a couple Hulks. We've got two, what are they called? Mandarin rings.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of other stuff. So what figures jumped out to you that you're excited about?
Sure. So first I want to say, this to me, con season, these are the best ever. This is the most hyped.
Yes.
Like, it is insane how much I like these. Like, and they've done good. So the one, I'm not really excited about the dial, but just the fact that we got him and the sculpt is Superman Prime. Because like I never thought we were gonna get this figure, and it's like I'm very excited about that. The dial's okay. Like I said, it's kind of what you would expect. It's just a sort of basic, like tentpole, like cosmic thing, you know, nothing super unique. But I was very excited that we got that figure. Static Shock is the same way, and it's a TV show Static Shock. It's really cool. Yep. I love that he comes with his gear buddy, and he's actually really good. Like, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
He's got Running Shot, Pulse Wave. He's got the Perplex Og, and then his so he also has Using the Environment. Telekinesis is free, but only to pick up an object and then give a range object action. That's really good, because it's just it's sort of like a flurry. If you have objects, that comes up a lot, or just if there is an enemy object that, you know, like a Infinity Gauntlet or something, you want to throw that for free and just break it.
Yep,
that's relevant.
Well, they're into no, never mind. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I mean, they are. Yeah. And then probably my favorite one, not the most meta. So the meta ones are Storm and that boy, Robbie Reed. But I'll let you talk about those if you want. That boy. Yeah, but the other one I really, really like, and I think is pretty good, is Miles and Gwen.
Dang it, I was going to talk about that. I really like them.
Oh, they're so cool. Yeah, they're super, super cool. So I'm going to read them, actually. So they have improvement with characters, which is awesome, and every Spider-Man should have, in my opinion. So they have this weird portal thing, super secret science tech. When a friendly character is KO'd by an opposing character, after resolutions, you may generate a portal marker in the square they last occupied, so the character last occupied. If you do, remove any other portals on the map, so you can only have one, and then free, place Miles and Gwen in a square with a portal marker. So that's kind of cool. It's, you know, it could come up. It's sort of niche, but it's pretty cool. So then they have who's ending up on which Earth. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose a bystander on this card, which I have two lists on the card, both Gwen and Miles. If you do, Miles and Gwen can use that character's standard powers until your next turn. And they're really good. And there's 4 of them. They get to pick 4 powers. They have 4 powers on their dial, and then they get to pick 4 more. They have 8 powers. So Miles has Charge, Quake, Combat Reflexes, and Outwit. Great. And then Gwen has Running Shot, Incap, Energy Shield Deflection, and Perplex. They're both really good. They start with an 18 defense, so they can have a 20 defense on either of them if they want. They can have a Wit or Perplex. They start with Prob. They have Wild Card. So then they also have an attack power they start with. Free. Make an attack targeting an opposing character that hasn't been hit yet. That's great. Yeah, this turn. But yeah, that's just like, you know, free attack. That's awesome. And then they have Stomp, Super Senses. When they're KO'd after resolutions, you may generate both bystanders. So, yeah, they're really cool. They're probably my favorite this year for sure. I like the sculpt. I like everything about them. They seem super fun to play, and they seem good.
I completely agree. And when finally everybody can shut up about not having a Miles that has the champions keyword, because I've heard that so many times. Why doesn't Miles have champions? Well, he does now. Sort of. He and she do. Yeah, I love this. For 100 points, you get a lot of bang for your buck. Ton of bang for your buck. I do want to go back to what you're saying about Superman Prime. I think Superman Prime is playable.
You think so?
He's got quintessence, so you can't be outwitted. He's got Superman Ally, 8 range, so you can play him at 150, and he's got 5 clicks, sure, but he's got super strength, colossal stamina traded. Anytime he clears, he heals 1 click. He's got a leadership. This is the big one because he's got cosmic keyword. Leadership, when he uses and succeeds, he may instead remove an action token from another friendly character within range that shares a keyword. If he does, modify that character's combat values +1 until your next turn.
Yeah, that's...
So
that's
you got your cosmic bunnies, and you can be like, all right, leadership, hit it. You got +1s, buddy. You go do stuff within 8.
Right.
Within range, not line of fire, just within range.
Yep.
So
19
that's cool.
defense starting too.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, that's pretty good. He has Outwit Prob on that first click on 150. When he uses either, he may use it an additional time this turn if he has 1 or more additional tokens. So if he's tokened up, he's going to be great because he could just sit here and be like, all right, I perplex you twice.
Not perplexed.
Or not perplex, I'm sorry, I prob you twice.
Yeah.
Or I outwit you twice.
With the 19 defense, so
Yeah. 10 hypersonic, 11 attack, 4 damage. Sure, his dial is pretty short, 150. He only has 5 clicks. I get that. But having Cosmic or even Justice League, I mean, I think you could probably do something with him that makes him playable. But yeah, I totally agree with Static. I think Static's cool. Also, I'm sad you talked about Miles and Gwen. I was really talking about him. We got some Hulks. They're pretty neat. Ambrose is pretty neat. He's nothing amazing, but he could do some stuff. People have been wanting a complete planetary team, and he really adds a lot to that.
Yeah, and he's solid too. He's just a solid figure.
The one everyone is talking about is Storm. Storm has Asgardian, Avengers, X-Men, and Deity, so amazing keywords. Really, all she's good for, not all she's good for, but as a call-in is what she's going to be used for most. She's 85 points, so she's can be called in by most teams. 50 is kind of the point level now that everyone goes with, but they're going to change their mind with 85. She's got her special attack power is Energy Explosion, Pulse Wave, Knockback. Damage dealt by Storm's ranged attacks can't be reduced below her click number. So the main thing about this is dealing with, she has a 6 range, which that kind of hurts a little bit with Pulse Wave. You'd really have to do something with that. But basically, this allows her to Pulse Wave Colossals off Retail. Because Retail protects them from Pulse Wave. So that means Pulse Wave won't take away their toughness. But because her power reads, damage she deals can't be reduced below her click number, and she starts on click 1, so they can't reduce it below 1. So that's so they'll be taking it.
Yep.
So that's good. Her range, taking it down to a 3, that kind of does suck a little bit, but
it makes it single target pulse wave way easier.
Yeah.
She's 11 for 4 on the call off with pulse wave and running shot.
Yeah, we're getting a ton of pulse wave call-ins now.
Yep.
The biggest question is, when are we going to see her? And my guess, I've been doing some math, we probably won't see her until the fall.
Yeah, that was my thing too.
We know now there's always the chance, some of the other national championships get other Con LEs. Remember, Starro came out in the UK before anything else. Her number is MP19006. The reason that is significant is because Rogue, who was the grand prize of the fall WKOs last year, was MP19, surprisingly, 003. Then you have Thane, who is MP19004. So those are 2 grand prizes. MP19004 is Lilandria, which
5, you mean?
5. So the next one after Thane is Lilandria. She is a winnable at Nationals.
Right.
Then comes Storm's number. Now, WizKids could potentially just they just do their numbers random. But I like to think they have them in order. So that leads me to think she is a grand prize or a winnable somewhere. My guess is that the next set of WKOs after summer will be probably before Worlds, I would think. We still don't know where Worlds is. So my guess is she might be a grand prize at a WKO. That's my guess. Because all the other WKO pieces are MP, like MP 19, and they start with a 1.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
100 or something like that. So they're thrown out of the picture. Rogue, I believe, wasn't that Thor Rogue? Rogue with the hammer?
Yep.
So that fits the theme. Thane, not Asgardian, but he did have the Phoenix Force, so maybe it's
so alternate versions, yeah.
Yeah. So my guess is she's a WKO Grand Prize, which means she's going to be really freaking expensive.
She's going to be so expensive.
Yeah.
Especially, like, she is a top 3 call-in after she comes out, right? I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And you can play 2 of her. There are 2 Storm IDs. That drives prices up like crazy. Because the demand is just doubled. So, yeah, she's going to be expensive.
We saw 2 Mandarin rings. I assume they'll probably be at the Winter WKO. Unless they are winnable at Worlds. But I think they're going to be the prizes because every WKO we've had 2.
Yeah.
We do not know the dials for the 2 Mandarin rings at Summer.
Right.
There are 2. They are different names. We don't know them. So we don't know what they are. So my guess is these 2 are either going to be winnables at Worlds, but I think they're going to be WKO giveaway objects. Well, there's 2 of them, so I don't know. Anyway, back to the figures that we saw. We got a cool Bat Cycle and Robin. I think he's okay. We got the Hulks. You mentioned Robbie Reed. He does have some crazy potential from just 45 points. So he starts the game with the H-Dial object. Let me read you what the H-Dial object does. And this is going to be funny. 10 points, so that's cheap. Indestructible. Another light object. Effect. Equipped character has a range value of 5 unless their printed value is higher. So, all right, cool. That's pretty good off the bat. Power action. Roll a d6 and choose a color listed from the result below. 1 is orange or lime, which we'll talk about in a second. 2, light blue or purple. 3, green or black. 4, blue or pink. 5, yellow or gray. 6, red or brown. Then roll a d6, choose a combat type, speed, attack, defense, or damage, listed for the result below. 1, the opponent chooses the combat type. 2 or 3, speed or damage. 4 or 5, attack or defense. 6, you choose the combat type. The equipped character can use the standard power of that combat type and color until you roll this for this effect again. If the equipped character is named Robbie Reed, this may be activated as a free action instead of a power action. So, before we really get into the nuts and bolts of H-Style, let us just go ahead and clear the air and say WizKids has officially named light green lime.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we've ever seen that, right? It has to be.
I have never heard the word lime be listed on a card before, so this is what they see it. Someone was hungry that day or whatever, and I think this is the first instance of brown also. I don't know if we've actually heard choose a brown color.
I think we've seen brown before. I think it was in one of those things where you can't choose this color. I feel like I remember something like that.
And this is relevant for the main podcast, if you will. They like to have a debate every once in a while of the most powerful colors. Clearly, this is WizKid's order of the most powerful colors, because if you roll a 6, arguably the best roll, you get red or brown. So they see red or brown as the strongest.
I feel like I disagree with that. I feel like that's wrong.
I'm going to throw that. I'm just going to say this is their ranking. I'm not saying I agree with their ranking, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, 1 signifies that it's crappy, and that's orange or lime, which is funny that they put orange and lime together. Both being
citrus.
Yeah, just throwing that out there. But if you think about it, and we won't get into a big color debate.
4 is the best.
4, blue or pink? Yeah, because you could choose Mastermind. Or no.
Or no, it's light.
Oh
it's
yeah,
not
because there's light blue, so it would be dark blue. So shape change, mastermind, pensai,
Invincible, sidestep.
and plasticity. Yeah, that is one of the better ones by far. But it's not to them. It's 5th and 6th because they like red, brown, yellow, or gray.
Yeah, I think they're just thinking about like I don't even know what.
As a gambler type like myself, like I loved playing Resurrection Man. Just because, not because he didn't die. I mean, that was cool. But I really liked rolling for his powers and not knowing what I was gonna have to go with.
Yeah, that's
so
fun.
I might end up with like,
fun game.
I might end up with Force Blast and Willpower, and I'm screwed. But H style kind of is like, all right, you roll, and you never know what you're gonna get. Yep. You might get some cool powers. But our boy Robbie Reed here can use it as a free action. He starts the game with it equipped. Don't have to pay any extra points like the others that we've talked about. He just has it. And he has it equipped. When Robbie Reed uses the H style, he may choose speed, attack, defense, or damage instead of rolling the second D6. All right, that's cool. Special movement power. Now, all these special powers are on his second click. First click is like an activation click.
Which is annoying.
It is. When Robbie Reed uses the H style, this is the movement power. After resolutions, choose one, charge or running shot or sidestep. Robbie Reed can use the chosen power until he rolls for an equipped H style again. So you roll for the H style, you get all that stuff. After resolutions, you still get to choose one of these powers. Defensive power, same thing. When he uses the H style after resolutions, you choose combat reflexes or energy shield. Sweet. And then damage power. When he uses it, you can choose close combat expert or range combat expert. So these are all powers you get in addition to what you roll with the H style.
As a free action.
As a free action. Best part, he's 45 points.
45 points.
5 clicks. He has terrible keywords. He has 1, pass.
So that is
it's bad. But it's 45 points if I'm running a non-themed team. I might try that out just for fun.
He's
45 points.
Attack, 18 defense.
He's one of those like, why not? 45 points is that threshold where I'm willing to experiment a little bit.
Yeah,
you get 50, you get above 50, that's where you lose me. But 45, all right. And I mean, technically he's worth more because he gets the H style for free.
Right.
So he's technically 35 points with a 10-point
object
equipment. So I like it. I like it a lot. And I mean the other.
You just have a thing for 45-point figures.
I have a thing for figures that have some randomness to them. And I wouldn't actually bring it to nationals unless I like practiced it and realized he was really good. But showing up to maybe a win a map or a WKO, I'd like to roll the dice and be like, all right, let's see how this game goes. I rolled up. All right, I got yellow. I'm gonna do pulse wave. Running shot pulse wave for 2 damage, 11 attack. All right, from our 45-point figure.
Yep.
All right, I'll do it. So definitely check out the WizKids Road to National Championship, or it's basically the article that says Tournament and Comprehensive Rules Update. That's what they have, all these Connelly things. It's also on our Clixed Facebook page. I posted all of these on there. They're really great. I think everyone's wondering when are they going to show up. So I predict we'll see some at other nationals. We'll see some at WKOs. I think Storm is the one we'll see at the other WKO. And then everything else will be winnables or buyables at Worlds.
Yeah.
Maybe Gen Con. Maybe they'll throw one in Gen Con. I don't know. We haven't seen the dials for the other Mandarin rings or the other summer WKO figures.
Right.
The Flash, the Reverse Flash, and I think there's a Superman in that one also. I'm not sure. I don't remember. One last thing to talk about in news and upcoming events. Well, actually, I need to talk about upcoming events too. But as of this recording, which peek behind the curtain, this is Thursday. We just saw pictures of sculpts for the upcoming WWE set. Looks like 15 pictures, something like that. They talk about there's going to be a starter set with a, let's see. Starter set includes The Rock, Mankind, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, and then they talk about an expansion pack. They have another 2-player starter set that comes with Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Finn Balor, AJ Styles. Balor. I'm not a wrestling person. And like a lot of other figures, I'm really excited about this. As a non-wrestling person,
it also comes with a WWE ring, which we assume is going to be a special terrain because it can be used with HeroClix. Yeah. Not sure what it'll do, but it's there.
And they even mentioned WWE HeroClix even features a never-before seen powers and abilities card. Powers, they really worded that weird. Specific to WWE, which we were talking right before we recorded. That kind of makes sense because there's a lot of powers that make zero sense for
that just won't be used in this set at all. So probably just to add more variety, they added this.
Yeah. So I'm eager. I don't know if those will actually branch out into actual HeroClix. If they do, that's cool, especially if they're cool. I'm gonna leave the more theory crafting and whatnot to the guys who know wrestling.
Right.
I do not. But that was broken today. Just fresh news for you.
Yep. All the sculpts look really great.
They look fantastic.
Yep. It's yeah. I mean, I'm not a big wrestling fan either. I'm aware of its existence, just sort of by proxy, but I'm excited about it. It looks cool. I like how they're adding special powers. That gets me excited. And just any Clix. I'm not going to complain about anything they go.
Absolutely. Unless it's My Little Pony, which we know we're not getting, but
I wouldn't mind.
You heard it here. Tyler says Tyler's a secret brony.
I'm a brony.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some upcoming events, and then we'll get to Click 2. By the time you're hearing this episode, it may have already happened. But on May 4th, we have two big regionals. First is a regional out in Newark, California at the Clix Collective. And we have another regional, which, Tyler, are you going to the regional?
I am. I was able to get it on.
All right. So there is a regional at the Rusty Scabbard in Lexington, Kentucky this Saturday. Tylor will be there. I hear he is playing a brony team. So, you know what? If I almost wish My Little Pony was a thing, like HeroClix wise, and one of them had the monster one of them had the monster keyword, so you could just throw them out there.
That would be the most demoralizing feat, you know. Like, that's just, man, that's asserting dominance, winning with the brony team.
I replaced Mini Shredder with Sunshine. I don't know the names of the bronies. So yeah, if you want to face against some whales, Tylor will be at the Rusty Scabbard in Lexington.
Mm-hmm.
Our next set of big events take place on May 18th. We have some winner maps before then, but I don't go over every winner map. Just remember, you could go over every event on the Rock website under the events tab. They have all these listed there. May 18th, we've got a lot going on. We've got a qualifier at our sponsor, Lucky Dice Games in Huntsville, Alabama. We have another qualifier in Tucson, Arizona at the Tucson Games and Gadgets. But if you're wanting something with a little bit more pizzazz than just a qualifier, then we have a regional in Frisco, Texas at Doc's Comics and Games, and another regional in Warren, Michigan at Eternal Games. So we've got
I didn't know that.
You didn't know there was a regional in
Michigan? No, I did not.
Well, you might see Tylor at that event also.
You might.
Yeah, you might. Eternal Games, I've never been there, but I've always heard good things.
Cool store, yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard good things about that. So May 18th, that's a big event day, 4 big tournaments. So we'll learn a lot about how Rebirth has affected the meta on the 18th. I think, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about some rules and updates in Click number 2.
Click 2, Tournament Reports and Analysis.
All right, welcome to Click number 2. This is where we talk about tournament reports and analysis, and unfortunately, we don't really have a lot of tournaments to talk about. April was a pretty quiet month. We haven't gotten a ton of results that have really shaken things, so instead, I figured we would talk about things about the tournaments scene that has changed. This week, we have gotten updates to tournament rules And we have also, which I don't think has happened in like 5 years. I know they were super out of date.
Yeah, man.
And they talked about using fax machines in the old one.
Wait, did they really? Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. And we got a complete change to, not complete change, but a big change to our comprehensive. So which one do you want to talk about first, Tyler?
Probably the tournament one.
All right. Let's talk about the tournament one a little bit. And they did release an article highlighting the major changes in both. And there were also some other changes that they didn't really list out here. So let's talk about the tournament change. Some things they wanted to highlight. They are A-OK with note-taking. There was some questions about that before. Can you use pen and paper? And I know that's changed a while ago when Resurrection Man and Faust came about and you had to actually write down powers. But they explicitly say you're allowed to use non-electronic devices, so no tablets,
Right.
like pen and paper or like a tool. They say on here, or custom design tool,
Yep. So
to record and keep track of the game state. And this is going to there's a reason for this that we'll talk about in a few minutes. This typically applies to effects that allow selection of powers and abilities and also to keep track of the current score. Players must be able to record this information in a timely manner. So basically, don't sit there and be like, hold on. Hey.
You can't stall. That's what
You can't stall with writing down.
Yeah.
So they're A-OK with you taking notes for a reason. The big one that I've heard a lot of bad feedback on, it has to do with sculpts and cards. Basically, they don't want you to use any custom or modified sculpts. All games element sculpts must be their original sculpts and must be the correct sculpt for their combat dial. Players may use custom action tokens, and I like that they actually put this part out there. Players can use custom action tokens and custom items for generated game effects, so markers, bystanders. So they're actually kind of like subtly promoting that.
I feel like they have to say that because, I guess they do make those now, actually. They didn't used to make them.
Yeah, they make those, so they could shut everyone down for making.
So it's a slight positive, or well, it's a not negative.
The tournament staff may, at their discretion, forbid custom action tokens or items that are potentially offensive or excessively confusing, which that makes sense. I remember hearing a story about somebody having very offensive tokens. So that's disappointing, but reasonable, I think.
I understand why. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
Yeah, I think there's some really cool game element, custom sculpts out there. But if you're going to a tournament, you got to just bring the right thing. I mean,
yeah, it's a clarity thing because we're familiar with what the figures look like. So we, if it would be just an extra thing I have to think about, like what is that figure,
And to clarify for anyone that is confused, modified does not mean broken. So if you have, like, for example, my boxing ring is completely broken. My kid stepped on it. I don't know who stepped on it, but all the things have popped off. That doesn't mean it's modified. That just means it's broken. So that doesn't equal the same thing. So if you have a figure who's missing an arm, which, as we know, some of the WizKids quality misses some of that or breaks it in transit, that does not count as modified. That's the original sculpt. It's just broken. So
and they do specify that these are at the judge's discretion. So just ask the judge.
Yeah.
A lot of times those will be okay.
Next up is custom painted game element sculpts. Basically, they say, you can custom paint your game elements and use them in tournaments without needing an opponent's approval. This includes pre-painted sculpts and unpainted sculpts. Tournament staff may, at their discretion, forbid custom paints that are potentially offensive or excessively confusing. So if you're trying to draw, like, if you've got a Superman and you're trying to draw him like another version of Superman, or if you've got like one version of Black Panther and you're trying to draw paint him to look like he's got an Infinity Gauntlet just to confuse your opponent.
That's the funniest thing ever.
Well, I mean, that's what they're saying, and potentially excessively confusing.
Right.
So if you're purposely painting a worse figure to make it look like a better figure to psych out your opponent, they don't want you to do that.
Sure.
This also opens the door because they're going to come out with unpainted sculpts. That's WizKid's biggest moneymaker right now is D&D unpainted minis.
Yeah.
And so they're really trying to branch out and utilize the fact that they have that capability. So we're getting unpainted HeroClix sometime, I think, this fall. I'm eager to see how they do that. I hope it's not like sketch versions or whatever, but I think I myself am not a painter, but I envy those who take the time to make things look awesome.
Right.
So, this one is another one that people are a little upset about. Game element cards. Players are required to bring and use the original cards for all of their game elements. Proxy cards will not be allowed. If a card becomes damaged beyond use or is missing when playing in a sealed event, at the discretion of tournament staff, a replacement card may be used, or the player may use a printed version of the card provided by tournament staff.
Yep.
So
this one's dumb. This is dumb. It's dumb.
Well, yeah, but at the same time,
I think the only thing they needed to do was just say you need to verify with a judge. That's what needed to happen. That was it. Because if the judge verifies
I think most judges will be fine with it unless they're jerk judges, or it's like nationals or worlds where it's like, hey, officially.
See, that's what they say, but right. So they say that these were not explicit, but they were always rules. But they weren't always rules, because I won Worlds with print and play cards that 2 judges signed off on, and I used in the finals. This was not a rule. This is a new rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a rule.
Now, I like to think the best of people and the best of WizKids. So my guess, and I'm hoping this is true, I'm hoping they come out with some sort of better method of replacing cards and replacing like bad dials. Like I know you could take some to like nationals and they'll switch some of them out, and you can mail them in, I think, to some customer service thing if you get like a certain figure that gets completely botched. What was it? Lockjaw had the wrong dial on some of them.
Yeah, you could do it with Lockjaw specifically, or maybe Cons specifically, but I've never heard of this. I think I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that they will just mail you not the same figure, but just this figure of the same rarity. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that. I don't know.
Well, I'm hoping this is a step in the right direction where they're planning on increasing that quality control in the sense that, hey, I got this wrong figure. Here's the card. Here's the figure. Can I get like the right dial with it? Or
you are like a more optimistic man than me.
I am. What can I say? All right, let's talk about the big one, and this is one you and I have been debating about. Victory conditions. There are 3 ways to win a HeroClix game. When only one player is undefeated before the time limit is reached. That's a pretty good try one. Time limit is reached, and if the time limit is reached, the player that scored the most victory points in the game wins. Okay. Here's the new one. Here's the biggie. During a 2-player game, if the player's victory point total is equal or higher than the build total value plus 100, after the most recent effect resolves, that player is the victor. For example, if the build total is 300, the game would end as soon as the player scores 400 points or more.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
I think that's a huge deal. Now, additionally with that, and I'll tack this on as well, there's now a point cap, which I think has been needed for a very long time. You can only score, when it comes to recorded point total, what the build total is, at most. Yep. So if it's a 300-point event, you cannot score more than 300 points in the win system. Now, during the game, you can, and that's why they wanted note-taking, because you have to note take now and say, all right, I just KO'd a call-in ID, so that Cyclops is 50 points. Because as soon as you hit 400 points, that game is over. Right. Immediately. After that effect is done. It's done.
And, I mean, you still need to keep track of it, because, like, if you win, 370 to 320, you need to keep track of that for the scoring of the game, but then you would both record 300 as a win.
Yeah, and I think this is really going to change how Swiss is set up now, because usually if you win a ton of points, you're going against the worst winner with the worst points. Like, I believe they base points after wins, right? Yeah. So all the 1-0s are seeded against each other based on their points. Well, now all the 1-0s, everyone has 300 points if you clear everything. So if you scored technically 400 points or 500 points in one go, you got 300 points. If I barely just beat you with 300 points, I got 300 points. I think this changes, and we kind of disagreed on this. I think this changes a lot for those who have fortunate matchups. Because there's sometimes Unimine's obviously the most obvious choice of giving up way more than your build total because of all the Eternals. Sometimes, and I've seen this, I've experienced it in tournaments myself. I might be going into the final round of Swiss thinking I'm in a pretty good spot. I might barely make it in. Someone who has significantly less points than me, maybe like 3 tables down, because everyone counts tables. So they're like, all right, it's a top 8 event. I'm at table 6. All right, if I win, I've got a decent chance of going up to table 4 and making it. But someone at table 10 could face a Unimine, score 700 points, and they leapfrog me because I got stuck playing against a don't die, or maybe I just scored 300 points or 200. They got 700 in one round. They played a Unimine team, or they played.
It's impossible for you to do anything.
Yeah, and Unimine's really not the only example. I went back, and we talked about this before. I went back and looked, and there was a lot of games that went over 400 points.
I think, didn't we say we had a percentage and it was pretty accurate. I think it was like either 5 or 10%.
Yeah, and you may think, only 10% of games, but I mean, that's per round, I think. So 10% period. So that means if you have 20 players, one of the games is going to go over 400.
No.
No, wait.
They went over.
That was players. Yeah. Went over 300. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
it wouldn't have changed the outcomes of those games, but it changes pairings.
Yeah. And it affects. Now, this is one you and I really disagree upon. I've said this affects Unimine players.
I agree with that, but to a different extent than you. I think it affects 0.5%, maybe 1% of Unimine games, and that is generous in my opinion. That's just what I think. Now, so the change was designed for if you kill, if you kill 400 points worth of stuff, then the game should be over because you did the work to kill all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if you call in an ID and he's worth 90 points and you kill that, you should be rewarded for that. So for the intent, it's not really, this affects Unimind in a way that is probably unfair because you're not killing a 150 point Eternal when you kill that. You're killing a 1 point or 1 click thing. So you really shouldn't get those points. It's just, I think Unimind was designed poorly as far as the points go. But this he's a sort of like an innocent quote unquote bystander to this change that it probably shouldn't affect him like this, but it affects him so subtly, and since he's so strong, I think that it's acceptable for the good that it does for the
the real detriment to this to Unimind is if your Unimind is popped, you can assume the game's over anyway. I get that. Your Unimind can't afford to be popped. You could try to fight your way back, but most likely the game's over.
Right. I think Dan said that he has won one game when his Unimind was popped.
Yeah.
And he's played a lot.
Yeah, but the point for me isn't that you're trying to win the game at that point. You kind of can, unless it's real close. There are maybe instances where you get popped and they only have one figure and it was a last ditch effort.
I think you can see that's 1%.
Yeah. Right? What I'm arguing that I think is really bad for Unimind players is that when you get popped and your Eternals are gone, you have no way of trying to get any points. It's just immediately over. And because if I get popped and my Eternals are gone, my first thought is going to be, all right, I've lost. I'm not going to wipe this whole team. But I can maybe get
130 points.
Yeah, because I'll still probably have Lockjaw. I might still have one Eternal, because unless he can attack four times in a row.
Probably a Star Fox, because it's
Yeah, so I still have a chance to at least score some points and get me in a better position. But if they take out 2 of my Eternals, that's probably going to be 400 points or close to it, and the game's over immediately. Which, do I think that's fair? Sure, because you're playing a risky team. Unimine, I think, has become significantly more risky than he has been before. With all the different objects out there, with Black Widows now, there's just green arrows. Unimine has become, he's still very playable, but you have to play him incredibly defensive to be able to really protect him nowadays, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. He's more of a point.
Yeah, because all the other teams nowadays, all the teams nowadays are centered around figures that are worth a lot less points, and if they're dead, they still have other figures that could back them up. Unimine, if he's dead, the game's over, because you would lose your Eternals. Now, unless you're doing my theoretical team, where you're playing Isaac, Rare Star Fox, and where I'm waiting for one more Eternal that's only like 50 to 75 points. So that way I'd be like, all right, you killed all my Eternals. You get the 150 points for Unimind. Thank you. And we're close. We got the Rare Star Fox and Isaac. So that's like 120, I think, or something, 140. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world. And Isaac actually is fantastic as an Eternal. But that's not the discussion here. So... I don't know. I think it's good for the game to have the point cap where you only get 300 points. That's way needed. The 400 point thing, I'm ready to see what the ramifications for that are.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to see that firsthand potentially. Well, no, actually, these don't take place until the rules don't go in place until May 11th.
Yep.
So the winner map for this Friday, if anyone's joining the Rock Online winner map, and the events this Saturday should not have these rules in place. Because they don't take place till May 11th. Now, the judge may elect to do that. If you're going to any of these events this weekend, I would clarify with the judge whether they are using these new rules or not.
I have already asked if I can use print and play.
Yeah, so I'm talking about scoring and point cap, because
that's true.
Everyone's going to be looking at the tournament rules. Oh, they change, and they might miss the thing where it says
May 11th.
May 11th is when they start. So just keep that in mind. Additionally, WizKids finally caught on to the cool thing that is buys. Buys now give you half points.
Yes.
Finally. Absolutely needed. And they're even more worth even more now that there's a point cap. Because 150 points stands for a lot less if you've got like 3 people with 800 after round 1.
Yeah.
So definitely worth it. Ties now. If you have a tie that ends in a 0, both players will receive a game loss. So I think they're aligning themselves with what Rock does.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has a problem with that.
Yeah, they're finally accepting the Rock rules. And they even mentioned in here, which I thought was good for them, because WizKids hasn't really said a ton about Rock with the merger.
Yeah, right.
They finally said when it came to determine what to replace it with, the Rock's rules had already been field tested by some of the best HeroClix players in the world across several years and formats. They liked it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that they're finally like, hey, acknowledging the little merger that they've done. All right, so that was the tournament.
Just
update.
real quick, one other thing about the point capping at 300. Another potential issue, and it only comes up in bigger tournaments, is where at the end of the tournament, if you have, it just, how are you going to tie break if it's 4 rounds and there's 2 guys with 1,200 points, because it's much more easy to tie on points. That could be an issue that comes up that we'll just have to deal with moving forward. I don't think it's enough to make it a bad change. It's something that should be on.
I almost want to create a WizKids event in the win and just see what the win does.
Yeah, actually,
because I have no idea what the win will do in that scenario. Whether it'll show an order, and if it just goes by name, and they're like, "Hey, your name starts with a B, the other person starts with a D. Sorry, the B person's 8th." Like, I don't know how the win does that, because there's no strength of schedule.
Yeah, it's never come up, and I've never seen it.
Yeah, so I have no idea. I might experiment with that a little bit later. All right, let's talk a little bit about the changes to the comprehensive. There have been some big changes in the comprehensive rulebook. Some of these have been kind of hinted at for a long time coming. But let's talk about some of the ones that are major. Now, before everyone gets excited, none of these stop Vulture. None of these stop Hulk madness. Like whales are still fine. Like none of these change any of that.
Yeah.
Like none of that has changed. So one thing they mentioned, they clarified more about your sideline, which we know now is relevant to like Kobik and a few other figures. They basically said you may not use the powers or abilities of any game element that you include in your sideline unless they have sideline active or the effect specifically says you can use it. Note that some effects with that key phrase, the sideline active key phrase, may additionally be used while that game element is on the map if the effect specifically specifies so. However, effects that apply to characters that were on the map and then put in your sideline continue normally. So nothing crazy there. They're kind of cleaning up
The language, yeah.
some of the language that was vague and needed cleaning up. A game element in your sideline can only be placed there for a specific effect. It can only leave your sideline, re-enter it, or be referenced in your sideline for that specific effect. This applies to characters on your force that later become part of your sideline as well. So that's kind of just clearing up some language and a lot of this is just clearing up language that they've already specified in rules, in rulings. Like they specified this, I think, with ID characters. When someone was like, "Hey, can you have this certain ID character?" Well, no, they have to be tied to an ID in order to be on your field. So they're saying here, okay, in order to be on your sideline, they have to actually go to an effect. So no big change there. Unless an effect allows otherwise, characters with multiple or variable point values must be used at their highest point value while on your sideline. That doesn't change too much. ID characters obviously have an effect that allows them otherwise to choose.
Right.
They finally put in all the wording about the colossal clarifications. It's the exact wording for what I could tell what they said in the article, which Tylor, I know you've mentioned, leaves a little bit of gray area. But they...
Yeah.
Because the gray area that... why don't you talk about the gray area a little bit that there was some concern about?
So, the Colossal one or the extended starting?
Well, I mean, both. The extended starting area.
Yeah, the Colossal one was good, I think. So, the extended starting area one, I'm not even sure if... What it's been ruled both ways to me is so you would fill your starting area with colossals, obviously, assuming a standard starting area. So, like if you have 16 squares, you fit 4 colossals. So then the question becomes, you obviously extend. You get a pick left or right. So if you extend one to the left, at that point is where the confusion comes. So do you place your 1x1 characters in there, or do you have to extend until you can place your colossals? So that specific point right there is the contention. I don't know if you extend 1 and then place stuff, or if you extend 2 so you can continue. You have to place all your colossals before you can even try to fit in the other ones. I'm not sure, and I've had it ruled both ways by local judges, so that's I think still pretty vague.
Yep.
As far as I can tell, I haven't really seen anything that affects that, and it's a little annoying to just have to keep asking the judge every time I go to a tournament. I don't care which way. I don't care what happens as long as it's clarity, as long as it's concise. I don't care either way. I'm fine with it.
Let me ask you, Tylor. Have you tried asking on the win yet?
Yes, I did. It was a while ago.
And they haven't responded, or they give you that staple, well, on page 3 of the...
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the response.
Okay, so maybe they're still debating it, if that's the case. Actually, they're probably going to forget it, because I asked them eons ago when we had duo figure combat symbol, is if they can equip, because they gave it to sharpshooter, but they didn't say anything about duo figures. So I asked that question, never heard anything ever. So They obviously didn't want it to happen. But so yeah, that all is added in there, and there's still that kind of vagueness, unfortunately. They add in about how players will need to keep track of their victory points. They talk about the map. where, if effects refer to up, down, left, right in reference to movement or locations on the map, they assume that label square A1 is the upper left corner. That just filling some things out. They closed the loophole with Odin the Destroyer officially in the rulebook. Because there was a big thing, well, can you use his free action to do any action to reactivate his action to do any free action to do, like an endless loop. They closed that on the win. Now they've officially closed it in the rulebook. So far, nothing crazy.
Yep.
They did officially say, and literally most of these are win rulings that they finally have put in the rulebook. Some game effects trigger when the character starts the game. This occurs when a character is first placed onto the map during game setup from outside the game, usually by being generated, or from the sideline. So they clarified what starts the game is. So if your character starts the game with so many tokens and you call them in, they'll have those many tokens because that's when they start the game. And it's a rule that we've that's a rule we've already assumed. So
I think it's a beneficial ruling. So that's just not in the comprehensive. So there's
this one is pretty well. No, this one isn't that big. Any D6 or 2D6 roll made during the game can be re-rolled unless it says it can't be re-rolled. It's just prob control specifically says re-roll attack or breakaway rolls.
Right.
So that might be more relevant in Golden Age than anything else. This one is big, and this is one I've been talking about on the podcast a few times. Terrain markers can't be placed on special terrain or within orange or dot. Well, actually, this isn't the one I'm thinking of. But basically what they've said was special terrain. And I'll go ahead and skip down to that.
Mm-hmm.
Special terrain may have a map bonus. If placed on the indicated map, your force gets this map bonus for the rest of the game. That's not where it is either. Where is it? Goodness. Here it is. Special terrain must be placed at least 3 squares away from any starting area and can't be placed over squares of different elevation, other special terrain, and here's the big part, or over orange squares. This applies during game setup and during the game. So that means on maps that have any sort of orange squares, and this actually fixes the recent Rebirth map, the tower. Because the reason they banned the tower map was basically you could put a jet over those squares that you use to get up to the roof, and just block it, and you can't get up there. This basically says if it's an orange square, you cannot put special terrain on it. I think this is excellent. It needed to have happened because I've always considered orange squares to be special terrain, essentially.
Some maps they actually are called special terrain, so it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I mean, this is big on maps that, I know this is a rock map, but what is it called? The one that's based on
Ultimate Sacrifice.
Ultimate Sacrifice. All those squares in the middle are orange squares.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't place anything now. So you essentially can't even place any terrain. There might be some where you could put a 2x2, but most of the squares you just can't put, like you can't place boxing ring on that map at all. And then they also put in here if you when placing special terrain, if it can't be placed without violating any of the above restrictions, the special terrain is not placed and is immediately KO'd.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, I don't know if that was a thing before, but
I don't think it was immediately KO'd. It used because there was like with the boxing, we said if you can't place it, then something happens, right? You get +1 defense.
Yeah,
would
something
you
like
not get +1 defense and it would be destroyed?
No, I don't think so.
It says if you can't place it, it's destroyed, right?
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to look into that. I'm actually not sure. Let's see what else has changed.
So another loophole that used to be in the expansion of starting areas is it wasn't clear. So if I'm going first and I have to expand my starting area, did the other player have to extend their starting area? Were they forced to, or were they not? I think that has been resolved, so I'm going to read it real quick. So if the first player is the one that needed to extend their starting area, then the second player gets to use the same extended starting area when placing their figures. So is gets a may effect, or is it a must effect?
I'm glad they threw in another word that doesn't exist
Gets.
in the rules. Gets.
Um,
Gets to me sounds like may though. Like
It
I
does.
get
So-
to use it.
It does. It sounds like that, and this is where it was last time. So I don't think they fixed it because then it says if the first player expands to the right, then the second player's starting area is expanded to the player's right. So that doesn't sound like a may. That sounds like it just happens. So then just finishing this out. If it was the second player that required the expansion, after the second player places their game elements, the first player may then reposition their own game effects in their now larger starting area. So that seems to imply that it automatically expands.
Yeah.
I think. So I think the gets is overwritten. Is that clear to people?
It's not clear to me, so
I feel like I don't know, because I've let these exact issues known to like, I don't know. I wish this was clear. I don't think this has changed anything.
one other major change in the comprehensive is that and I'm very sad about this, but the Penguin team is essentially dead. Title characters now all have replaced. They have special plot abilities that include free actions. Oh wait, no, where is it? Here it is. When a title character activates a plot ability at the end of your turn, if it didn't attack an opposing character, deal it 1 unavoidable damage. So they've basically added that to all the title characters. And if I remember correctly, let me see where it is. They actually put, here it is. No, that's not it. I feel like they put something in here to save themselves for future issues like this, where if the card specifies something, you base it off of, like, with the title characters. Yeah, it's...
If there's inconsistency, but it's ruled in the comprehensive, use the comprehensive or something like that?
No, it's the opposite. It says don't use the rule book. Base it off the card, I think is what it is.
Then it doesn't change anything.
No, there's something about it. I'll have to look at it. Can you think of any other changes in here while I'm looking?
I could read the copying powers from the...
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Alright. If a character is able to copy and use a standard power... I don't think this is it, but I'm going to keep... From another character, the copying power uses the standard version of that power regardless of what additional effects copied character has applied to that standard power. If a character can copy a special power, that includes any additional effects, including restrictions. That wasn't what we were talking about. I thought that was a wild card thing.
Well, I think that has a little bit to do with that.
Maybe.
No, that's not it.
Can't really think of any big change. Like, there was a lot of little things, but...
See, I feel like I remember seeing something where they mention when the card says something, but the rulebook says something else. Like Special Terrain has said that for a while.
I feel like that's always sort of been the rule of thumb, is if there's a discrepancy, you go by the word, but I'm not sure.
And I feel like... Oh, here it is. Here it is. Additional game elements. Added this paragraph. The text for the general rules for the additional game elements listed here, such as the general rules for ID cards and Special Terrain, supersedes their printed text.
Okay, so it's just for them specifically.
So anytime the rulebook is updated, whatever is in additional game elements and is listed in the rulebook, you replace whatever's on their cards to this. So all your Special Terrain doesn't list anything about, not putting it in orange squares. The rulebook supersedes that now. Title characters don't have anything on their cards about having to hit opposing characters to not take the unavoidable. Well, the rulebook says it, so it is true for them now. It supersedes the cards. And so they've actually put this out here. This wasn't out there before. So that's why some people still went with old Special Terrain rules. Some people were still playing Title Deadpool with the old title rules on his card. Because they're like, well, the card says this. They haven't officially said, hey, there was no errata for him to say. Well, there may have been an errata, actually, now that I think about it. But even with that errata, it was still different than what the rulebook said, because the rulebook was then going into like the newer title characters, like Cap, one of the new. This actually recent set. I think the Cap has in there you have to hit an opposing character. So everyone was like, "Well, does that replace all the others?" Well, now it does, because the rulebook says it. Which unfortunately means Harley's not as good as she was before.
So good. I mean, it's so fine.
I think the title character took a big hit with this.
She takes 1 damage.
I mean, Deadpool doesn't care.
No,
but he's about to rotate. So,
and he just heals 1 anyway. So
exactly. Which I guess he would take 1 after. So he'd and then he'd have to use the plot ability to heal, and then he would take another one. So
yeah, he'll be on the second click unless he attacks, which is always sort of how he's going. Yeah.
And they finally put in the rules for locations. Thank goodness. And they're not called location bonuses. They're called, well, the effects of the locations are called location bonuses.
Yeah.
But it's finally in the rulebook. So now you don't have to keep going to realms to look up the map or anything like that. It's officially in there.
Yeah.
You can only have 1 in your starting force. If you won map and chose not to go to your map, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
Normal stuff that we already know about it. So these were some changes that were kind of predicted to be down the line. There were rumors that these were happening to title characters. These were kind of all things in the comprehensive that were needed to fall in line with what the win said for rulings. And these are things that should have probably already been in the rulebook, and now they finally fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing earth-shattering. Just keep in mind. And I can't remember. Did they say the comprehensive doesn't start till May 11th, or does it?
I don't know if that was officially stated.
It says here, WizKids is proud to announce an update to the general tournament rules and comprehensive rules for all HeroClix events, including local store events and premier events, as of May 11th.
Okay.
So Tidal Harley's still legal this weekend. Woo! I'd actually probably play her if I got one more weekend. I played her in the online and win a map because I wanted to play her one last go around. So
I'm gonna play her off an ID card.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it for the tournament updates, I guess, because we didn't really have any tournament reports. So why don't we go ahead and go to click number 3, our buy, sell, or hold section.
Click 3. Buy, sell, hold.
All right, welcome to Click 3. This is our buy, sell, hold. This is where we kind of tell you, hey, these are the figures we're looking to buy. These are the figures we're looking to sell. And these are figures you need to hold on to because you might want to sell them later or you want them now because they might be more expensive later. Mm-hmm. So, Tylor, do you have any buys, figures you're trying to buy right now because they're cheap or because you think they have something going for them down the line?
So buys, one thing is anybody that you think will be better with access to Power Cosmic. Because I believe, and there are others that agree with me, that one of probably the other Infinity Gauntlet will have Power Cosmic as an effect.
And if I'm not wrong, I think you got some money on this.
Me and Lane bet a booster. I believe that the Infinity Gauntlet, one Infinity Gauntlet in this set, will grant Power Cosmic. But just because that Cap, 1, doesn't have willpower, like what Cap doesn't have willpower, and then 2 is outwittable. It just seems like those are 2 glaring holes in his dial, and there's something that does that. So anything that you want to not be outwitted, basically. So maybe like some of the like a big bruiser that. It always sucks when your big bruiser can be outwitted. So like maybe some of those Dark Knight chases, like Devastator or something, good. Yeah, but something along those lines could get better. Just keep that in mind, I guess.
Okay. Some of the buys I'm looking at, we're not quite yet there to rotation, but now is a good time to try to buy some of the figures that will get better after rotation because they're not good now. Because of Hawkeye. So, like, Power Woman, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Is she a Casey Power Woman?
Yeah.
She's okay now. She's played on some of the Don't Die teams. but she gets a lot better when Shredders and Hawkeye are gone because she won't get picked away really fast.
Yeah, I've actually recently looked at all the KC pieces, and I've overlooked them. They're really good. They do some crazy things, and they just couldn't be played because of mainly Shredders and to a lesser extent Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So that it's a big. Take a look at them. Maybe buy them if you.
Yeah, there's definitely some figures out there that have suffered. Unfortunately, my Penguins were one of those, but they're rotating also. So,
Yep.
Oh well. But remember, rotation starts at basically Modern is going to start with Elseworlds, and everything else is rotating. So just keep in mind some of the figures that may just not be quite there yet. Maybe some of the Avengers Infinity chases, or those aren't bad and they're super cheap. Right now you only have Star Fox, but Photon and Moondragon aren't bad. Some of the turtles aren't bad either from Unplugged. And I'm not talking about Foot Elites, even though those are ridiculously priced. But some of the ones, let's see, was it the common? I know Nate White was playing one of them. Who was it?
No, that's the starter ones. The
starter,
the
yeah,
coin
Fast
ones,
Forces, yeah. Where they keep coming back. They got a starter coin. When he would be KO'd, you may remove a quarter token from any friendly character, including himself, and instead turn him to click 2. If you do, they score 25 points. But
which is just awesome. I kind of love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, he comes back. So
like you put a corner in the machine to replay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of figures. You just got to go out there and look and see. All right. Like for example, the movie Chase Captain Marvel. She's real good. Only 150 points. She's great, but she's gonna be even better when rotation hits, and you don't have to worry about
Shredder pinging her off.
Yeah, pinging her or just whittling her down. Even some of the rebirth chases, like Barbatos or Barbados, however you say it.
Barbatos.
He's good. He's real good. But I think he's going to be way better when rotation hits. Because he could still get Proxima speared. And he's kind of like, I'm immobile. Please don't do that to me. So just keep that in mind, that you want to do that. You also want to make sure you buy your ID cards, your X-Men ID cards, that may be a little bit more unique. Like your Rogue ID cards, your Psylocke ID cards. Because
even
X-Men... Yeah, and Storm. Yeah, definitely your Storm ID cards. Colossus, get the Colossus ID cards. All the wanted poster ones are dirt cheap. Because everyone got them.
Yeah.
But make sure you have one if you don't, because we've got X-Men Regenesis. I mean, that's just right around the corner in June, right? Or July? I think it's July.
July, yeah.
And then we have a set in August or September. Like, it's just right around the corner, and you don't want to be buying that now. You don't want to be buying that right before the set comes out, because that's when it's going to be more pricey. So look at these Con LEs, see if there's any ID cards that you can use them with, and make sure you have those. Tyler, what are you looking to sell right now?
I mean, it's pretty easy right now. Anything that you're not going to use in the next 2 months that rotates. That's what you should sell. If you're going to use it for Nats, obviously keep it around. Otherwise, I mean, sell it. Even if you want to keep it for a collector, sell it now and buy it in 4 months, and you'll make money. I mean,
yep. Just make sure that it is the figure that's rotating and not like a game element for the figure. I only say that because I sold my Hawkeye last year.
Yeah. When
the ID rotated, thinking there's no way he's gonna be main boarded. Like there's a chance, but I'm not gonna happen. And look what happened. I got a good amount of money
actually,
for it. So
too, actually.
Yeah, I got a good amount of money, so it wasn't the end of the world. But just something to keep in mind.
Yep.
For me, selling recently, for some reason, we have one of the most expensive super rares to date. And I don't understand. I don't get it.
This train.
And I'm talking with Dan, it's tempted me to go buy some. But Trelane, right now, for some unbelievable reason, is going for like $70 to $80. He's more money.
I've seen him go for $100.
He's more than Wolverine was.
And it's not like a one-off. These are consistent prices.
Yeah.
I
And it's
don't-
because he's good for a lot of different figures. He's like how Mixie used to be, but way worse than what Mixie was. Mixie was
Yeah.
amazing. But he, makes Daredevil not that bad. He makes he's gonna be great if you play him with Lobo. When the
Yeah.
Con LA Lobo comes out. Like there's a lot of figures he can change and make things way better. So if you have one at the same time, he has his issues.
I can't see him holding his value.
Yeah, so if you have
I'm not
one,
saying he's bad, but I'm saying he's not a $100 figure.
yeah, and he's how many points is he? He's
50.
50 points,
Yeah.
only 4 clicks.
It's
He's got a stop click. He's got a stop click. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like,
I just sell him if you have him. That's my advice to you.
yeah, and my local has a brick or two of this.
Yeah, this
of
might
Star
be a
Trek.
buy. Maybe we should mention this in buy. Buy Star Trek
No.
boosters.
Yeah, Star Trek boosters is a buy, but the figure is a sell.
Yes.
You might also want to sell off any rebirth stuff. The chase prices are going to start going down just because as more people hit the market. Because people will realize some of the chase, all the collectors have bought what they bought,
Yeah.
and now you're down to the Drowned is going for like $50 or less. You're going to hit those at some point. You're going to have the key ones still high. Murder Machine, Barbatos, those are still going to be up in the 70 to 80 range for a while.
A little bit.
You might still get some of the other ones like who else? Dawnbreaker. I think all 3 of those are actually still in the hundreds.
Really? I didn't know.
Dawnbreaker I saw I think for $90 to $100 still.
Yeah, Barbados is still going for that 80-90 range.
Yeah, so you've just got to jump on the train for the other ones because their prices are lowering. I know the worst one, I think Merciless, I think is technically the worst chase.
Maybe.
I
I actually like all the chases.
like them too, but I think playability factors in a lot. And so Devastator and Merciless are the cheapest. And I think they're only going for around 40 now.
Mhm.
And you might get it cheaper if someone's desperate. I know a lot of people are desperate to get rid of Devastator. So yeah, I don't, you just need to try to sell those as quick as you can before it really gets too low to where you feel like you're so desperate to get rid of the different figures.
Mhm.
I know a Bat Who Laughs is still pretty high up there, but he's not that great of a chase. He's
No.
cool looking.
Yeah.
He's great in casual, but he's just not that great. I was fortunate enough to trade mine for Barbatos.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, before he fell in price.
He's
so-
actually the only chase that I actually dig all the other ones. Like
Yeah, I wish he was better.
just the way he was built up in the comics. It's a little bit of a
Yeah. All right, Tyler, what are you holding? Not right now. I mean,
Um,
like, what figures are you holding?
like a Rubik's Cube. I am holding, and I'm gonna disagree with you here. I am holding. If you have a Red Death, I would hold a Red Death because Flash figures and Speedsters always hold their value.
Very true.
It's so consistent. Dark Flash is still like I don't know how much. Even some of the like Prime Wizard and Wizards are expensive.
So sad.
Yeah. So Speedsters and specifically Flash pieces hold their value. That's why I would also hold. I don't think he's good. Maybe somebody will build a team with him and he'll be like find a sort of loophole. But the what's his name? Deathstroke, the Speedster Deathstroke, the super rare.
Yeah.
Deathstroke is very popular. Flash is obviously always hold value, so I would hold him as well. Obviously, hold on to Mandarin rings because one, they're just amazing, so they're gonna hold value. What else? Can't really think of anything else specific. Hold right now. I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Speedster thing. I think there's going to be a point in time where, I mean, this time next year, we're going to be looking at all the Thor Colossals going away.
That's
And
true.
what are we left with? Giant Girls and Groots. Like, that's,
Bunch of X-Men, actually.
yeah, unless
Well,
the X,
depends.
yeah, if the X-Men one comes with Colossal, sure, but you got very specific ones. Like it's not just open to Surters and Mangogs and
Right,
Carnages
yeah.
and like everything. It's you got Groots, you got Giant Girls, you got Wasp, to both Giant Girls, and I don't know, maybe there's Giganto Tri-Sentinels, sure.
Yeah, try something.
Giganto. when does Giganto rotate? I forgot about that one.
A while. I mean,
Yeah, Avengers Infinity. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Who
I
was
don't know
that?
if he'll rotate next year or not.
Because
it was like right around Worlds.
it was a May set, so
Was it? So it should.
Yeah, so it should rotate. Not this year. Not next year. Yeah, maybe next year. It's gonna be like a Avengers Defenders War.
I think it'll be next year, which is insane to me that Giganto and that whales rotate the same time that Unimind rotates. I feel like we've had Unimind for like 3 years already.
Yeah, well, Unimind came in the sweet spot. August is the sweet spot.
He did, and then he blew up immediately, and it's been here ever since. So yeah.
So it really depends on when Worlds is, because
I'm not sure how they're gonna do that.
Because then August set would have Worlds, and potentially another Worlds.
Right.
Well, Worlds, and then a Nats. So you'd have a bunch of three major tournaments, in different years. As far as what I'm holding, that's a wonderful question. I'm holding tight on some of the Earth X and Battle World chases and super rares because we don't know what we're getting in Illuminati yet. They could have some keywords that really fit and fix a lot of teams.
That's true.
So we don't know. Like Initiative, there you go. Like what the Initiative keyword, which is terrible, but we got a Taskmaster now who can help it. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of Battle World figures that kind of fit with the Illuminati set because it got some unusual keywords. Unfortunately, there will be a brief moment where Avengers Defenders War and Black Panther will be legal. And
it's called that.
Yeah, so you could make a dynamite Wakanda team because Avengers Defenders has some of those Wakanda pieces like the Chase Black Panther.
Yep.
And the chair Black Panther too might not actually be that bad. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying you need to. I mean, yeah, I am saying that Avengers Defenders War, all the Wakanda pieces. Not to be rude, but none of them are worth much anyway. Like chair Black Panther's a super rare, and
it's like $5, I think.
Yeah, the Shuri Black Panther. Chase is like 20 or 30. It's really not that much.
If that, yeah.
Yeah, so I would hold on to those because you're going to have
a win with Wakanda now.
Say what?
I want somebody to win Nats with Wakanda now.
Hey, it's potential. I mean, if Black Panther, we're probably going to get, if it's a Black Panther set, we're probably getting like 6 of them in the dumb set. Yeah. So there's potential. I mean, you could play Wakabi and friendly characters with the Wakanda keyword modify their defense +1. Just make a crazy Wakanda team. I kind of want to see that too now that you mention it. All right, I think that's gonna do it for our buy sell hold. So why don't we go into our final thoughts.
Click 4, final thoughts.
With that, we enter Click 4, the KO click for final thoughts. Tyler, what is your final thought for the episode?
If you are going to Nats this year and you haven't started prepping for it, you are behind. You gotta start prepping for it. Practice makes perfect. It helps a lot. I know I need to step it up. I have been slacking a little bit. I think I've just been lazy because I just know whales so well. I don't have to think when I play it, but I think I'm using it as a handicap. I need to get back into it. But that's it. Just ramp up that practice. If you're going to Nats, and come to Nats. It's always fun. Origins is awesome. It's super cool. If you're on the fence. I don't know if you would be on the fence at this point, but
yeah. For my final thought, I'm going to concur with you on going to Origins. I'll be going this year. I was kind of borderline going because I was debating on, all right, do I really? I'm qualified because I won a WKO back in last summer. but I was kind of iffy on it because I didn't know if I wanted to spend the money. But after seeing all the con LEs for Origins, and they're actually very reasonably priced. Like,
yeah, they really are.
There's nothing over 50 points or $50 or $75 like before. Like the most expensive thing is Ghost Rider for 40.
Right. Yeah.
So, and Batmobile's what, 30 or 40?
So something like that.
I think it's 30. And then you've got some really good pieces. For Batmobile is 30. You got Lobo for $20, which of course I'll buy one. I'm iffy on the Ghost Rider for 40. Magneto's only 15.
Oh my God.
That's dirt cheap. Batmobile's 30, and then Dupe on a Motorcycle's 20. So I know I'm definitely buying 2 of those because I am waiting to play a Dupe team. I'm sad they're not going to be legal for Nats because that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But go to Nat.
Yeah. If they keep the format, they're going to be with Battle Royales. They're going to be dropping 3 rings. Rings are going to be good. And they're probably going to be expensive. So that it's not that hard to make your money back, or at least offset the cost a little bit.
Yeah, and that was the other push for me to go to Nats is because I'm qualified, and Nationals isn't until Saturday, I think.
Singles isn't, yeah.
Singles isn't. Teams is Friday. That means if I get there Wednesday, I've got all Thursday to just sit there and play some Battle Royales and enjoy Origins, which I didn't get to last year. Last year I was trying to qualify. This year, I think I'm going to be way more relaxed. I'm going to actually enjoy Origins because this won't be my first time going. I'm super pumped, and it is only a month and some change away. And for me personally, between then, I have a vacation and a house to buy. So that'll happen before I get the Origins. So this next month and some change.
Pretty quick.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. So that'll do it for this episode of Sudden Death. May your pre-release boosters, if we don't hear from you before then, have all chases, and may all your rolls be critical hits. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.